You'd have to be well into your 90s to remember this sound.
See it up anywhere? Oh, right.
That was a very sedate arrival.
Oh, well, there you
Looking at this car,
Yeah.
it's a Stanley from which era?
This is 1907.
1907.
It's what's called a 20 horsepower gentleman's speedy roadster. That's
You
what
look
they
like a
describe
gentleman
it
to
as.
me.
Oh, thank you.
You seem to qualify.
But it was really one of the first sports cars. And when you look at it, it's a very sporting looking thing. And it was sold as a sports car. They claimed, if you read their advert, they claimed that it would do 75 miles an hour. I'm not sure. I haven't dared go more than about 60.
But
You need a
it
lot
does
of road.
look like a normal car, doesn't it? When did the steam car reign?
Well, in the very early part of the last century, really, from about 1900 through till 1905, particularly in America.
So it's a short lifespan. So there was a time when the steam car was in competition with the internal combustion engine.
Well, that really began to happen as the internal combustion engine got a bit more sophisticated and started to work properly, which really basically means from 1903-4 onwards through till about 1908 or 1910. And by then, really the steam car was outclassed because it didn't have an electric starter, and there was all the faff of having to fire it up. You didn't just go wine handle and go.
How did the steam car start up so quickly then, and how was it so popular?
Well, much more in America than in Europe. I mean, steam cars, there were steam cars made in Europe, but not very, very many. But it was very popular in America. And steam cars were particularly popular in America, I suspect, because the technology was so simple and it was known to every blacksmith. Anybody could fix a boiler. There were boiler shops all over the place.
It was just an extension of the steam age.
Very much so, yes. And the petrol car, which was coming in at that time, this was completely new technology, and actually nobody understood it, really. Basically, that was the reason for the greater success of the steam car. And then, as petrol cars got much easier to start, electric starters fitted on from about 1912 onwards, then really the steam car, it had it probably. But the last ones which were seriously made were around about 1932 or 3.
As late as that?
Yes, Dobles were a very famous American make. They didn't make very many, but they manufactured them.
Who were the manufacturers? Any names that I'd recognise?
Well, over the entire life of the steam car as a species, there were about 50 or 60,000 vehicles made, and of those, Stanley made round about 11,000, and so did another make, White, which was also quite successful, in fact very successful between 1900 and 1910. But in 1910 they saw the light and stopped making steam vehicles and transferred all their production to petrol vehicles. And actually, as a consequence, they're still in existence making trucks.
What were the selling points of the steam car? There must have been some lovely adverts.
Very much so. Stanley's in the very early days, of course, they did a lot of record breaking. And in 1906, they became very ambitious, and they decided they would have a go at the land speed record, which they did. And it did 127 miles an hour, which was about 25 miles an hour faster than the previous best land speed record, and that was 1906. And a car like this, the same exact model as this, on the same day did 84 miles an hour.
They weren't sold on convenience.
They were sold on convenience. One of the kind of markets that they had, they sell them to doctors, because with a steamer you can leave the pilot light going, which will keep the pressure up. And in fact, what they did, they used to plug the pilot light into the town gas mains and keep the pilot light going overnight, so that they could keep the pressure up, and they could be very quick and ready to go. And for a doctor who was probably doing, maybe 25, 30 miles on his rounds during the day, that's about the range before you have to start putting more water in a Stanley. Although the Stanley is very convenient and simple to drive in many ways, there's also a lot of background fiddling around that you have to do, a lot of maintenance and working on it and so on.
And it must be a mucky thing to drive.
Very.
It's the kind of arrangement which would appeal to men, not to women, I should
Yeah,
think.
I think so. Yes, probably right.
There
There are some pretty good lady drivers, I have to say.
Water.
Going in. At last, I was invited to take a spin in this 96-year-old open tourer with no windscreen or seat belts. I couldn't wait.
It makes you laugh, doesn't it?
It does make you laugh.
Okay, what do you do? If I just open the throttle, you'll hear what it sounds like.
Okay. Gee whiz. The wind is blowing through what little hair I've got. Shall we go out onto the Starport Road then? Get some speed going. And here's one of your colleagues.
Yeah, he's got the whistle. Well done.
That's another Stanley. Left here.
Right.
It does make you laugh. It's ridiculous. We're in the unrestricted area, so you can really let her rip now. Here we go. Final burst of speed before the 30. 30, 35. It's as if we're in a gale. You don't realise how much a windscreen saves you.
Absolutely, yes. But particularly when it starts to rain hard, you feel as though you're being sandblasted. Where did we come out? We came out of here, didn't we?
That's right. Follow him round. Well, that was fantastic. That was probably the ride of my life. I never expect to experience this again.
Oh, well, there you go.